Hey guys, and welcome back to Jay's and JJ's Kitchen. Thanks for stopping by my website. So today we got a kind of a treat for you guys, something different. I did it, I think, once or twice. Anyway, we're gonna do gyros. It depends on where you're from and how you pronounce it. It's spelled Gyro. Gyro, gyro. I've heard it pronounced. Let me see, gyro, hero, but it's a Greek dish. Mainly, I found it up north. The good street ones that you can buy in the south, if you go to a Greek restaurant or something like that, maybe you can find it there, maybe or maybe not. Anyway, it's one of my favorites. So, that being said, we're going to show you our ingredients and get started. All right, guys. So, for our ingredients to make gyros, right? Um, I've got you see, a pound of lamb, ground lamb, and a pound of ground beef. Uh, how can I say this? Depending on your taste, this can be done with 100% lamb or 100% beef. You can use chicken or you can use pork. However, the authentic recipe is actually, it's basically a 50-50 mix of lamb and beef. Uh, Sometimes when I make mine, I will use basically, say if I used a pound of lamb, I would use a half a pound of beef and a half a pound of ground pork. That being said, everything else is the same. You got cumin, rosemary, thyme, oregano, salt, pepper. I think I'm saying this right. Marjoram, onion, and garlic. So basically, for every 2 pounds of meat, you want one onion and about four good cloves of garlic. So what you're going to do, go ahead on and say this. We've got our meat ground. Um, so what we got to do now basically is quarter our onions up, and I'm gonna put them in a blender with the garlic and get that basically to like a paste, and then I will add it to our meat, add our seasonings to it, and basically that's it. You can basically form it into a loaf there and put it into the oven. However, I I'm a little bit different. I'm kind of over the top, so I've got a vertical broiler, and like I say, this is just kind of like for instructional purposes because I've actually got like 15 pound of lamb and what basically 15 pounds of basically ground pork slash ground beef. So I'm gonna actually make the big cone. If you've actually went to a shop and seen them how they do it, they have it on a vertical broiler turning, right? And it's a big cone that they use, and they just you freeze the meat and you shave it off. Uh, but for just everyday purposes, you don't have to go that way. Like I said, you can make a loaf. I've never tried it like this, so I'm not sure. Uh, because if you make a loaf, you put it in the oven, you bake it. You basically have to wait on your internal temp to reach its temperature where it's done, right? And by doing that, I cannot say what the outside meat is, how dry it will get. I don't know because I've never tried that before, but I have seen people do that. But so if you don't have a vertical broiler, that is your only means of trying to make this is basically make a loaf, something similar to a meatloaf, and you stick it in the oven and you cook it until your internal temp is there, and then you take it out from there and you make your small slices, thin slices of it, right? And you put it on your pita bread, add your onion, tomato, uh, and the Greek sauce on there. Um, with me, that's as far as I go with it. Some people like feta cheese. Some people will add lettuce on it. I can do without that. So basically, that's it. That being said, let me get my onion and garlic blended, and we'll come back and put everything together. So, okay, guys, so we're going to get started with the seasoning here. We got our onions and garlic blended. I think you can see that right there. So, what we're going to do, start off here. I'm going to go with a tablespoon of oregano. All right. 2 teaspoons of our marjoram. Two teaspoons of thyme and also rosemary. That in there. That's our thyme. Here's our rosemary. Teaspoon of cumin. Uh-oh. Put my top back on there. So we're going to start off with 2 teaspoons of salt. Again, with these spices, right? You can season this to your taste. And what you do is once you get everything mixed, either you can put it, make it like a little patty, a thin patty, and put it in the oven and roast it or broil it or bake it until it's done. Or either you can pan fry it, just not for the purpose of cooking it, but just to taste it and make sure you got your seasonings where you want them, right? So that's the way that you go about that. So we're going to go with some black pepper. I want to go about a half of a teaspoon. Normally I would use crushed, but I just kind of eyeball mine and like so. That should be good on our pepper. What I do then is basically get a good mix on it before I add my onion garlic paste. And basically that's it. You can go with that, or because you want it kind of the consistency of if you've ever did any kind of, I guess you could call it processing, but making like homemade summer sausage, or my brother likes to hunt, and we've did quite a bit of processing some deer meat to make sausage, summer sausages and stuff like that. And so basically that's what you're looking for when you put your seasonings with that. You look for your meat to kind of be tacky. It's almost like a paste, I should say, but I guess it's the consistency. Not quite as, I would say if you're doing hot dogs or sausage is the best thing I can kind of compare it to, I think. But you want that consistency. And with that, you may want to add it into like a processor or a blender and just kind of pulse it until you kind of get that consistency. And then so like I said, you make that loaf out of it, and that's it. Just something else for you guys to try. Get that in there, and hopefully the liquids from our onions and garlic hopefully will get me to the paste consistency that I'm looking for. Because if not, I am going to have to process, what is it, about 27 pounds of meat. So this is just 2 pounds. So you guys can kind of see. This is just 2 pounds, and I've got several more pounds to go, but we'll get there. But that's what you're looking for. It is kind of loose and tacky. Once you get all that mixed in, don't worry about it. That's what you want. And actually, because what you're going to do, really, when you make that loaf, you want to try to get it as tight as possible. Um, by that, you can kind of take this basically and put it in a container or something um, like a plastic container and really press down on it to get this as tight as you can, as tight as possible with, no air or whatever in there. So you want this pretty dense. You want it to be fairly a dense loaf. You don't want a lot of air or basically with the meat. So that's why I say some people will actually tell you to uh, with the onions to strain them, but there it makes it a little more difficult because now you have more of a drier meat, a mixture to work with when you want it kind of pasty like this to where it's easier. This is okay, but I want mine actually more finer than this. So I am gonna put this in the processor and hit it a couple of times. If you got a cake mixer with one of those whips or paddles, you can also use that to kind of blend this up to get it basically kind of like as fine as you can. That's it. Once you get to that point, I say you make your loaf and you put it in the oven at 300 degrees and you bake it to an internal temp of 165, and you pull it out and you let it sit. And from there, like I said, it's just a matter of slicing it and making your gyro wraps with it. So from there, I'm going to pause the video and get this processed and then continue on with my what uh 26 pounds of meat remaining, and I'll come back to you guys because once I get mine's made, like I said, I'm gonna form it into a cone and freeze it. So once I get to that point, I'll come back and show you guys what I have, and definitely when I go to put it on the rotisserie, I'll show you guys how I do that. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll be back and finish this up. So okay, guys. So back to our gyro meat, right? So you saw us. We ground the meat, we seasoned it, and we packed it. Basically, like I said, if you don't have the rotisserie thing, you would go with your oven method, right? And I told you I was had quite a bit, so you can see this is my vertical rotisserie, right? It's basically somewhat similar to what you would see if you actually saw this, or you went out to a restaurant or a street vendor that sells gyro or something like that. That this is the method that they use to cook it. So we've got our. You see, I've got a pretty big amount of meat on there. So what we're doing basically, it's going to sit there and slow cook. It's turning, as you can see. I hope you can see that it's turning. If I can get in a little closer so you can see that. Right? So that is turning there, and it is cooking. So so once it starts to firm up, we'll start to slice it kind of thin, and then from there, that's our total process of making the gyro meat. Right now, it's a process, not a process, just a matter then of taking your meat. You get your gyro wraps, your pita bread, and you just brown it real quick on both sides, and add your meat to it, some onion, tomatoes. Like I said, that's as far as I go with it. I don't do if you want the lettuce, that's on you. From there, I will add my cucumber or tzatziki sauce. And basically, I'm finished with it. But if you want to, like I say, yes, if that's your thing, you can add lettuce. And also, some people like this is like I said, this is a Mediterranean or a Greek dish. If you like the feta cheese, you can add that to it. But I kind of stay away from that. I keep it simple. I get my gyro meat where I want it. I add a bunch of meat to it, my onions, tomatoes, and the sauce, and we're finished with it. So we're going to let this kind of sit here and cook. And once it firm up so I can start slicing it, I'll start slicing some off. Basically, and like you say, if you may kind of wonder, what am I doing with this big thing of meat? No, I'm not cooking the entire thing. It is totally it's frozen solid. So you cook it from a solid cone like this, and you slice off whatever the amount that you're gonna cook, right? That you want to use, basically. And then from there, what you do with the rest, you wrap it in saran wrap. I wrap mine in saran wrap and this other kind of wrap that I've got, and it will go back in the freezer. And then so when we want gyros again, it's a matter of taking it out, putting it on this cooker, and doing the same thing with it again. But that's it, folks. So what we're going to do, let this kind of continue to cook here. As you can see, it's kind of browning on the outside there. And we're going to let this continue to cook, basically, and get the amount of, till we slice off the amount that we're looking for. And like I said, we're going to wrap this up, put it back in the freezer, and we'll come back and show you how to put together the gyro wrap. That's it, guys. Whenever you kind of get that, hopefully you guys can see that. That's our gyro meat that we sliced off of our cone there, right? So, last part of this is to assemble this and put it together and make a sandwich. To do that, what we do here, get my gloves on here. So we're going to get our gyro pita bread, right? And show you, well, you won't see it, but I'm going to step back here to my little countertop grill, get it on there, heat it up. Get those heated up. Let me do a couple of them. Let those heat real quick. Then it's just a matter of assembling it. What we're going to use our tzatziki sauce here. You can buy it out of the store. However, you guys watched me long enough, and you know I pretty much do everything homemade. So it's not hard to make. Basically, it's a cup of Greek yogurt, and you need a cup and a half of cucumbers. Now, those cucumbers, they need to be ground up or finely ground, and the juice squeezed out of it. Me, I cheat. I got a juicer, so I just peel my cucumbers and send it through the juicer to end up with a cup and a half of cucumbers, right? And so that's a cup of Greek yogurt, cup and a half of cucumbers, about a little, some fresh squeezed lemon juice to taste. You want about 2 teaspoons of freshly chopped dill, and 2 teaspoons of freshly chopped parsley. And then from there, you can add a little salt or pepper to that, and you get that mixed up well. That's your homemade tzatziki sauce. So that being said, while I'm over here talking, let me go over here and check my bread over here. About to over talk it. Kill that. These here, right? Simple to assemble. Like I said, I was spoiled. Like I said, when I learned about these things, I was up in Chicago, Great Lakes, Illinois, in the military, and up there, they make them such that it's got so much meat that you can't fold it over and eat it, that you actually had to, basically you could make 2 meals out of it, because you would have to eat some of the meat prior to you being able to get this thing to fold over correctly. So that's kind of how I judge a good gyro, plus the taste too. It's got to have the correct amount of meat on there, plus the taste. Okay, so that should be enough meat. Hit it with some onions. Those separated there. Put them in there. We got enough. Little tomato. Lastly, our sauce. So you guys can see this. And that, my people, is your homemade gyros. Kind of fold those over there. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get these to stand, but that's okay. Because this is what we're looking for. Just that right there. And we are good to go. Hopefully you guys learned a little something, enjoyed that. That being said, that wraps up our edition of Homemade Gyros. Hey, thanks for watching.